I'll also swear in Senator Booker as part of this. You affirm the testimony you're about to give before this subcommittee with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. The record reflects the nominees answered in the affirmative. And we will start with Ms. Alexakis. You have 5 minutes for presentation, and then when all have completed, the senators may ask questions. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Durbin. I'm humbled to be here this morning. I appreciate your kind introduction and your support of my nomination to the federal bench. I want to extend the same gratitude to Senator Duckworth as well. I also want to thank you, Chair Durbin and Ranking Member Graham, for convening today's hearing. Thank you as well to all the members of the committee and their staff for doing the important work of preparing for today. I want to thank President Biden for this nomination. I'm grateful for the opportunity he has given me to continue to serve the people of the Northern District of Illinois, and to do so in the same federal courthouse in Chicago where my parents were sworn in as citizens decades ago. I'd like to say a few words about my parents, because my story begins with their decision to leave a small village in Greece and seek out opportunities in this great country. My parents instilled in me and my two sisters the value of hard work and the importance of an education. Some of my earliest memories as a child are riding the bus with my mom to her evening ESL classes and watching my dad, recently home after having finished working the night shift as a delivery truck driver, gulping down a cup of coffee before taking me to school. I will never be able to repay my parents for the enormous sacrifices they made so that I can sit here today. My commitment to public service, though, is my way of working to repay my family's debts to this country. I want to thank a group of close friends who have traveled to be here with me today. These individuals represent a tiny fraction of all the people in my life who I am lucky to have as champions, teachers, and mentors. Within that larger universe, I count professors who cultivated my enthusiasm for the law, Judge Marcia Berzon and Judge Milton Shader, for whom I was so fortunate to clerk early in my career, law firm colleagues who showed me how to zealously advocate for a client while remaining firmly within the bounds of the law, and the brave law enforcement partners and tireless assistant United States attorneys with whom I have proudly served for nearly a decade. To my husband, Oliver, who stayed behind in Chicago with our three-ring circus, otherwise known as my three beautiful children. You are our family's visionary, capable of seeing what the five of us can accomplish together with equal parts hard work, grit, and humor. Thank you for your love and support. And to that three-ring circus, again, my three beautiful children, I want you to know this. You keep me humble, you keep me curious, you make me want to make the world a better place, and I love you more than you will ever know. Thank you, Chair Durbin, for this opportunity to express my appreciation. I welcome the committee's questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lanham?
I'd first like to thank Chair Durbin, Ranking Member Graham, and the members of the committee for considering my nomination, and Senators Sinema and Kelly for their support. Thank you also to Senator Sinema for her kind introduction this morning. And thank you to President Biden. I am truly humbled by this nomination. I would not be here today without the support of so many, both in my legal career and beforehand. Starting with those who couldn't be here today, I'd like to recognize my two judges, Judge Shotney and Judge Silverman, who taught me the values of thoughtfulness, patience, humility, and good humor in trying to get every single ruling right. I'd also like to thank Judge Silverman especially for his unwavering support and mentorship over my years in Phoenix, and his wife Georgie and our neighbor Kate for being my original Phoenix family. Thank you to the judges of the District of Arizona who treated me with respect and kindness from the moment I set forth in their courtrooms as a new lawyer 15 years ago, and whose high expectations made me the best advocate that I could be. I am honored at even the thought of joining you at the courthouse. I want to thank my current and former colleagues at the U.S. Attorney's Office and Department of Justice more generally, many of whom are cherished friends, and my cheering squad of fellow moms and dads who are watching from Phoenix. You all lift me up, and I'm so grateful. I was privileged to have the experience of growing up in Bangkok, Thailand, and I want to thank my friends and family who woke up very early from around the world today to watch, including in Thailand, New Zealand, Abu Dhabi, Tenerife, Jamaica, and Australia. You have all enriched my life beyond measure. And now, closer to home, the people who are here with me today and my mother-in-law, Sheila, who stayed behind in Phoenix to make it possible for them to come. My parents, Rose and Bob, are here. They came from a small town in Ohio and an equally small town in Australia. They were both in the first generation in their families to attend college. But through a dedication to education and sheer hard work, they literally gave their children the world. Thank you. My little brother, Jimmy, is also here today. He has provided steady support over the years, despite having to withstand my judgment in the years before I learned that judges should be fair. Thank you, too, to my sister-in-law and nieces for making it possible for him to come today. Also here are my two boys who have taught me more about conflict resolution and patience than any professional opportunity could, but who have also brought me the very most joy. I'm so proud to be your mom, and I hope I make you proud today. And finally, my husband, Brian, who's my partner in keeping it all together, my biggest cheerleader, and my best friend. Thank you. Senators, I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Judge Martinez?
Thank you, Chair Durbin, and also thank you to Ranking Member Graham. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'd also like to thank my home state senators, Senator Sinema and Senator Kelly, for their support, as well as President Biden for the tremendous honor of this nomination. By way of background, I was raised a military kid. My dad, Jose Martinez, who's here today, served 30 years in the United States Air Force. My mom, Carol Martinez, who passed away a few years ago, was a committed military spouse, a public school teacher, and a wonderful mom to us 4 kids. My brothers and sister, including my sister Kim, who's here today, are forever thankful to them both. I am confident that I would not be sitting here today without their love and support and countless sacrifices. I share my upbringing because it has fundamentally formed my deep respect and my deep love for our country and our democracy. My life has been blessed with tremendous mentors and friends. To law professor Rhonda Rivera and my 8th grade American history teacher, Miss Mueller, you made the Constitution come alive for me. To my judicial role models, the late Chief Judge John M. Roll and Jennifer Zips, thank you for the opportunities to serve the District of Arizona and for demonstrating every single day all that a judge should be. To my chamber's staff, Sandra and Kat and Susanna, thank you for your support and for making our chambers a wonderful place to work. To my judicial colleagues, particularly my fellow magistrate judges, I'm honored to serve alongside you. To Judge Jimmy Soto, whose position I may fill if I am fortunate to be confirmed, I am forever humbled by your encouragement that I apply to fill your position. To my former colleagues at the United States Attorney's Office, as well as the many defense attorneys with whom I have worked, thank you for your dedicated commitment to service to our district. And to my dearest friends, some of whom are here today, I am so blessed to have such smart, deep-thinking, funny, and kind friends. And finally, to my family, including all my nieces and nephews, and there's a lot of them, some are here today. You are my greatest blessings. To my husband, Chuck, and my daughter, who are here today, Thank you for the countless moments of quiet support, and particularly to my daughter. I hope that you see me sitting here today encourages you to know that you can also do and be whatever you set out to be. And I also have a 6-year-old son who I did not bring here today. He's back in Arizona, but he gave me some very sage advice, and he told me, "Mom, you should try to say something really smart." And to him, I promise I'll do my absolute very best. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Judge. Ms. Sooknanan, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name correctly or close to correct.
Thank you, Senator Sooknanan, yes. Thank you, Chair Durbin, Ranking Member Graham, and to this committee and your staff for considering my nomination and holding this hearing today. I am grateful to the President for the tremendous honor of this nomination and to Congresswoman Norton and her nominating commission. Senators, as I sit before you today, I can say with certainty that the American dream is real. I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, a small island in the Caribbean, and I moved to New York on my own as a teenager to attend college. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined this day in my future. I didn't get here on my own, but through the support and love of many people, and I would like to thank them. 3 judges shaped who I am as a lawyer and a person. I had the great fortune of beginning my career as a law clerk to Judge Eric Vitaliano on the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York. The Eastern District of New York is the courthouse where I was naturalized as a United States citizen. And so walking into that very building every day as a law clerk was just one of the most special years of my life. I then clerked for Judge Guido Calabresi on the Second Circuit and for Justice Sonia Sotomayor on the United States Supreme Court. I can think of no better judicial role models, and I strive to make each of them proud every day. Many teachers had a hand in my education, so I must say to my teachers in Trinidad and those at St. Francis College, Hofstra University, and Brooklyn Law School, thank you. I spent my formative years as a young lawyer at Jones Day and later had the privilege of joining the partnership. To my former colleagues, I learned so much from you about the practice of law, and I am grateful for the many years of support and friendship. To my colleagues at the Justice Department, including those in Civil Appellate, my first home at the department, in the Associate Attorney General's office, and in the Civil Rights Division, it has been an honor serving alongside you. Finally, I thank my family and dear friends, those here today, and many more watching across the country and in Trinidad. Throughout my life, you have supported me, you have laughed with me, celebrated the good times, and wiped my tears in the hard times. I love you all deeply. Finally, to my husband here today, Ryan, the absolute love of my life, my rock, and my home, I wouldn't be sitting here without you. And to my 6-year-old son and 4-year-old daughter, who one has left the room, you are and will always be my greatest accomplishments. Being your mommy is my most important job and the thing that brings me the most joy every day. Senators, thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. The nominees know this, and make sure the people who are in attendance know it as well. All of the nominees at this table and Judge Maldonado before them were found well qualified by the American Bar Association. They go through close scrutiny before they arrive in this room and at this table. And I think it speaks well of you that those who have watched you in action as an attorney or as a judge have judged that you're well qualified for this promotion. That's a good starting point. So Ms. Alexakis, tell us a little bit about your experience with the Civil Rights and Hate Crimes Coordination.
Thank you for that question, Senator. I served as the Civil Rights and Hate Crimes Program Coordinator at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago for approximately 2 years, from 2019 through 2021. And I worked closely with law enforcement to both investigate potential civil rights abuses by law enforcement officials, but also to do community outreach with respect to hate crimes, and to do extensive community outreach both primarily at the time to interfaith religious groups, to to communicate to them the Department of Justice's commitment to ensuring the execution of hate crime laws that Congress has passed. And so I found myself in gyms, auditoriums, meeting rooms all around the Northern District of Illinois, speaking to various groups of faith primarily, Jewish groups, Christian groups, a Muslim and a Zoroastrian group located in the western suburbs of Chicago, to help them understand that the Department of Justice is committed to prosecuting hate crimes and to helping to broker connections between those community groups and law enforcement so that they knew where those resources could be found.
Thank you. Ms. Lanham, this global following of yours, would you like to explain it?
Senator, yes. I had the tremendous privilege of growing up in Bangkok, Thailand, because my father's work took us there. I was able to attend an international school with students of more than 53 nationalities, and that experience has made me who I am today. There are many lessons that I learned as a part of that, including listening to find out where someone is coming from before I even start to form conclusions about who they are. Connecting with people on a human level, because we all have more inside that is common about us than different, but also the tremendous strength that diversity brings. And so with those lessons, I hope to employ them both in my courtroom and my chambers if I am so fortunate to be confirmed.
Judge Martinez, I guess as practicing attorneys, many of us reach our own judgment about the temperament and skills of the sitting judges we appear before. You've been on both sides of the bench now. What's your observation on the temperament of judges?
Thank you, Chair Durbin. My observation is that the temperament of the judge sets the tone for the courtroom, and it's fundamentally important that when a judge is in the courtroom, that they are respectful, that they carry themselves in a dignified manner, that they give the parties an opportunity to be heard. Because parties may not always leave agreeing with the court's ruling, but it's imperative that they feel that they had a fair opportunity to air their grievances and to be heard. And for those reasons, it's just fundamental that judges give the parties that chance.
Thank you. Ms. Sooknanan, I was struck by the notes given to me for this hearing that you came to the United States at the age of 16.
That's right, Senator.
That's a pretty bold adventure for a 16-year-old. Did you have family here that you visited with or lived with?
Senator, I applied to college and was fortunate to receive a scholarship from St. Francis College in Brooklyn Heights, and so I set out on a journey that I did not think would end here.
And when did your naturalization take place?
I was naturalized as a citizen in 2009, Senator.
I see. So you will have responsibility for naturalization ceremonies when you ascend to the bench, and I hope you do. What do you want to leave as your message to these young people coming to the United States?
Senator, I still vividly remember my naturalization ceremony, which Judge Irizarry presided over in the Eastern District of New York. And as I said in my introduction, I was really blessed to be able to clerk in that very courthouse. The message I would give to people is that anything is possible in this country. I mean, I'm so fortunate to have had the opportunities I have had, starting off in college and leading to this day. And I think this country, the opportunities that it provides, it's really amazing. I think only in America can someone walk the path I have walked and be sitting here today before the Senate Judiciary Committee as a nominee to the federal bench. I think my life is an example of that. And if I am fortunate to be confirmed, presiding over naturalization ceremonies would be at the top of the list of things that I would be really honored to do.
Well, I often recall when I have the privilege of being asked to speak at these ceremonies, I always mention the fact that my mother was a naturalized citizen and her son turned out to be a full-time government employee. So I warn them that the child on their lap may end up being senator one day if they're not careful. Thank you very much. Judge Kennedy. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of you. Judge Martinez, tell me about state police power.
Senator, my understanding of state police power is the authority of the state officials to enforce state law.
Well, what if the state law is in violation of federal law?
Well, we have the Supremacy Clause under Article 6 of the Constitution that provides that federal law is the supreme law of the land.
Yeah, but that's not an exercise of state power. What's the origin of state's police power?
My understanding, Senator, is also from Article 1 of the Constitution, where the Congress was enumerated certain powers, and under one of the provisions of Article 1, anything that was not specifically enumerated.
You don't think it's Article 10?
Well, Article 10 has to also is also applicable.
Actually, the 10th Amendment. What does the 10th Amendment say?
The 10th Amendment provides that any specific power that was not given to a Congress or denied to the states applies to the states and the people.
And that's the origin of a state's police power, right?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, it's not Article 1.
I read it as both, Senator, but if it's Amendment 10, then it's Amendment 10, Senator.
Does the federal government have police power?
The federal government has authority to enforce its federal law.
Yes, ma'am. But we've talked about the state's police power. Does the federal government have police power?
Well, the executive branch has the power to enforce the law executed by the legislature.
Well, but the federal government can't. The Constitution's pretty clear that you have to have an enumerated power in the Constitution, right, in order to be able to do something?
Well, it's my understanding, Senator, there are enumerated powers, but there are also implied powers in the Constitution.
Yeah, but those are implied to be enumerated. There is no federal police power, is there?
Well, Senator, my understanding is that the executive branch has the power to execute the laws of the United States.
I know, but that has nothing to do with police power. Let me move on. Counselor, tell me how to say your last name.
Sooknanan, Senator.
Say it again, please, ma'am.
Sooknanan.
Sooknanan?
Sooknanan.
Sooknanan, okay. Counselor, you used to practice law at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. And there was an article in the New York Times. I don't know whether you leaked it to them or somebody from your law firm leaked it to them. Your firm, Jones Day, you were a partner then, and you were representing a party, your firm was, and you were, in a post-election challenge to Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, of course, extended the filing deadline for absentee ballots in the presidential election, and that was challenged as being unconstitutional under both the state and the federal constitution. Am I right?
Yes, Senator.
And Jones Day was handling that case, right?
That's correct.
And you were a partner at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. And who was your client in that case?
The firm's client was the Pennsylvania GOP, Senator.
Well, it's your client too, right?
Correct, Senator. I was not the lawyer in that case, but yes, Senator.
But you were going to share in the profits made from the bills paid by the Pennsylvania GOP, right?
Senator, it was a firm client. I was a partner at the firm.
And you were going to share in the money, right?
Correct, Senator.
Okay. And in a call where you and some of your partners were talking about the case, this is what you said about your client who's paying you. You said, this is according to an August 25, 2022 article, You said, quote, "This lawsuit was brought for no other reason than to deprive poor people of the right to vote," close quote. You said that, didn't you?
Senator, those were not my words. I do not know who provided that quote to the reporter.
You gave it to the reporter, didn't you?
Senator, I never spoke to the reporter or anyone in the media about the meeting in question, and I'll tell you why. As a partner at Jones Day, all partners are bound by a confidentiality obligation to the firm. And that meeting was an internal, confidential partners meeting.
Yeah, but
I never spoke to the media about it, and those were not my words, Senator.
this is a violation of about 927 provisions of the Code of Ethics, isn't it?
Senator, that's why I never spoke to that reporter, and those were not my words. I do not know who provided that quote to the reporter.
What did you mean? Who was trying to deprive poor people of the right to vote? Who were you referring to when you said that?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words.
Oh, you never said that. You did not.
Senator, those were not my
So
words.
if we deposed your partners on that call, they would say, no, she never said it.
Senator, I am telling you here today under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to them.
If we deposed your partners and put them under oath, they would say, no, she never said that?
Senator, I can't tell you what someone else would say under oath. I can tell you under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to the media about that call.
And you think in light of this, you're qualified to be a federal judge?
Senator, I never spoke to the
You
media.
say that about a client?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words, and I never spoke to the media about the meeting in question. I take my obligations, ethical and otherwise, incredibly
Counsel,
seriously.
you said that, didn't you?
Senator, I did not say those words.
So the New York Times got it wrong?
Senator Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you to your families for supporting you in your journey. I must say, Mr. Chairman, you can't see, but Miss Lanham's youngest son has on the best cowboy boots. And I'm sure they were a contribution of his father's love, but they are the absolute best, young man. And just to also note and appreciate the quality of leaders that are before us today, it is we are in the midst of Women's History Month, and we are celebrating so many of the contributions that the women of yesterday have contributed to the trajectory of our nation. And I just think that this is a panel that speaks to our country's tomorrow. So thank you all for being a representation of the future for not only America's daughters, but America's sons and those who will wear such fabulous cowboy boots. I just wanted to, Ms. Sooknanan, if we can just follow up really, really quickly here on, I think as a line of questioning from my colleague. Yeah, there's a letter from your colleagues at Jones Day that's been submitted in support of your nomination and confirmation here as a part of this process. In it, there are many comments of congratulations, many examples of your incredible work and contribution to the firm, and a number of specific examples where you have led from a, quote, gifted and fair-minded legal thinker. So, Mr. Chair, if it would be okay, I'd like to have this letter submitted to the record supporting. Thank you. Also a signatory of this letter, Mr. Noel Francisco, former U.S. Solicitor General appointed by President Trump, is a signatory, one of many signatories to this letter in support of your nomination. Can you, just for a bit, talk a little bit about your experience and what it feels like for you in this moment to be nominated here, and just the amount of, I always ask a question about pro bono work. If there is a case that is top of mind for you that demonstrates, I think, what value you would bring to the court in your pro bono work.
Senator, thank you. I'm not sure it's possible to really put into words what this moment means for me and for my family. It is profoundly humbling to be here and to be nominated for this position. I am very grateful for the 6 years that I spent at Jones Day. I am very grateful for all that I learned from all of my partners. I built great relationships and friendships that I still have today. And I am very grateful for their support today, as they have been throughout my career. I would say Jones Day is a really wonderful firm for many reasons, and one of them is the firm does take on pro bono representations and really sees a role for law firms in giving back and representing clients who are indigent and who need representations. I was fortunate to work on a number of matters at the firm representing indigent criminal defendants that were very meaningful to me to give back and to really make sure that clients moving through the criminal justice system have adequate representation.
Thank you so much. And you have done one of the things that I think is incredibly difficult in that you've completed the trifecta of law clerking for the district court, for the circuit court, and the Supreme Court. What is a best practice that you have gathered from those experiences that you would carry forward if you were confirmed to serve in this role?
Senator, it was really an honor clerking on every level of the federal judiciary, and I will say very quickly, there are three things that I took away from those clerkships collectively and from my judges. One, the importance of fidelity to the law in judicial decision-making. Two, really being diligent and doing the work to thoroughly understand each case before you. And finally, being respectful to every litigant who appears before you. I will share one last thing, which is my district court judge at the beginning of each clerkship year, Judge Vitaliano, often tells his law clerks to remember that behind the case captions are real people. And that's something that has really stayed with me throughout my career, and if fortunate enough to be confirmed, something I would carry to the bench.
Thanks, Senator Butler. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominees. Thank you for being here. Congratulations to your families. Ms. Sooknanan, if I could start with you. I think we've established from the recent lines of questioning that you worked at Jones Day. You were a partner at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
And you had, how long were you at Jones Day, out of curiosity?
I was at the firm for 6 years, Senator.
Okay. You had a series of clients in that time, I imagine. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
That included a series of hedge funds, global hedge funds, is that right?
Yes, Senator.
Funds like Altair Global, Claren Road Asset Management, Glendon Capital Management, Nakota Capital, Oak Tree Capital Management, Ochre Rose, and Centerbridge Partners. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
And you represented these hedge funds in particular during a debt crisis that Puerto Rico had in 2017. Do you remember that?
Yes, Senator.
So Puerto Rico had a debt crisis in 2017. Your clients had bought a series of bonds and held quite a lot of money in bonds, if I'm correct. And it's $1.4 billion. Does that sound right?
Yes, Senator.
Of course, other people had bought bonds too. Normal people, everyday people had bought bonds. And when the debt crisis kicked off, the courts froze all of the assets, all of Puerto Rico's assets, to make sure that everybody got their fair share and was paid out in accordance with the law, and that normal people who bought bonds would get their fair share, right? I mean, I've got it right so far?
Yes, Senator.
So you, however, on behalf of your clients, you invented a novel claim. You filed a lawsuit under the takings clause. Is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
So you argued that the government was stealing from the hedge funds by freezing all of the funds, and if they pursued that course of action and didn't give your clients all of their money first, then they would have violated the U.S. Constitution. Is that right?
That's not quite correct, Senator.
Why was it a good idea? Why represent all of these hedge funds trying to get billions of dollars out of Puerto Rico when other everyday bondholders are left to pick up the slack? You dragged this thing out for years. I mean, you went back and forth to the circuit court. Other hedge funds then followed your lead. They thought that was terrific terrific arguments, super inventive. So then they did the same thing. So then other hedge funds piled in. The bankruptcy went on and on. Puerto Rico was forced to institute serious austerity measures, much to the detriment of their citizens, average people who don't have money for hedge funds. Why is it a good idea to go to Puerto Rico and to try to get your rich clients prioritized over normal people in a way that seriously impoverished, if I might say, the citizens of the island?
Senator, the legal profession is bound by a code of ethics that I think is incredibly important and that I am proud to adhere to in every case. My clients in that case...
Take from the rich or take from the poor to give to the rich? Is that the code of ethics?
Senator, Jones Day was retained in that case to represent a group of clients. Along with my colleagues, I made the best possible arguments.
Well, wait. Are you saying it wasn't voluntary? You represented them, right? You were lead counsel, I thought. Were you lead counsel?
Senator, I was not lead counsel. I was one of many lawyers who handled that litigation.
And it was involuntary? You were assigned, or you chose to do it? You did it voluntarily, didn't you?
Senator, those hedge funds were a client of the firm. I was asked to join the team and work on that matter.
But you did. Okay. My question is why? Why is that? Why is it a good idea? I mean, you can say no.
Senator, my colleagues and I at Jones Day in that case made the best possible argument.
Well, I know, and I listen. I don't doubt I'm not questioning your talent. I understand why they wanted to hire you. Your talent's considerable. I'm just wondering why you thought it was important to deploy it on behalf of these hedge funds to the detriment of everyday citizens who were bearing the cost. And you invented it was very novel. Listen, I give you credit. And everybody else thought so too. That's why all the other rich players got in and said, we want to do that, and drug it out for years. I'm just wondering why you thought that was a good idea.
Senator, Jones Day was retained to represent
I heard that the
those
first
clients.
time. I'm just wondering why you thought it was a good idea. You could use your considerable talents in any number of cases, ways, means, and methods. You could have said no to representing these clients. You didn't, obviously. In fact, you vigorously defended them to the point of inventing this novel theory, which was quite successful for your very lucrative clients. I'm just wondering why.
Senator, I have represented a number of clients over the course of my career. I have represented the government. I have represented clients.
So you don't have any problem with this? You think this is a good idea? You stand by it?
Senator,
No
my
regrets?
job in that representation was to vigorously represent my clients, which I did.
Sure, but we'd established, I think, a second ago, I thought you told Senator Kennedy that you resigned from Jones Day over a client that the firm was representing who you didn't like.
Senator, that is not at all what I said.
You didn't resign from Jones Day?
Senator, I did not resign from Jones Day because of any particular representation.
So it wasn't a moral, you had no moral quandaries?
Absolutely not, Senator.
You had no moral quandaries with any of the cases at Jones Day? That's your testimony?
Senator, I left the firm in January of 2021 because I was offered an opportunity to return to public service. It's an opportunity the firm supported and that I took.
You had no quandaries with them representing in the Trump litigation? You had
Senator,
no problem with that? That's your testimony?
Senator, I did not leave my firm because of that representation.
You had no moral problem with it.
Senator, I left the firm months later because I received an opportunity to return to public service.
You had no problem with that, and you had no problem representing the bondholders. So your testimony is you're happy to represent anybody who comes your way. Donald Trump, you bet. The bondholders, you bet. Hedge funds, you bet. Whoever. That's your testimony? I just want to make sure I got it right.
Senator, throughout my career, I have adhered to the code of ethics that all lawyers are bound by.
Well, sure, but the code of ethics allow you to make money from anybody. Listen, you can choose your clients. I'm not accusing you of any ethical violations at all. I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out why you thought it was important to have these hedge funds as your clients, and if you had any moral quandaries. And your testimony is you didn't have any moral quandaries, which is fine, but I just wonder if that's the best judgment.
Senator, throughout my career, I have represented corporate clients. I have represented criminal defendants. I have represented the government. Throughout my career, I am proud that I have fulfilled...
Want to say anything to the people of Puerto Rico while we're here?
Please let her finish the answer. Your time has expired. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Durbin. Throughout my career, I have represented many different clients. I am proud that in every representation, I have made the best possible arguments for all of my clients.
Do you want to say anything to the people of Puerto Rico?
Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I have noted appears to be a considerable drift in the Supreme Court away from the jury system, with rules changes that make it easier to get cases dismissed before they come to a potential jury, with jury damages awards knocked back, with entire issues, particularly in the corruption space, removed from a jury's determination to simple, bright line rules. And we've heard in this committee very often in various districts how rare it is for there still to be jury trials. Indeed, there are a few district judges that write about how you bring the jury back. In that context, I want to ask each of you where you fall on the spectrum or between the 2 points of seeing a jury as a mere fact-finding appendage to the court versus seeing it as a significant and important element in the American system of self-governance. And if you don't mind, I'll just go right across the table, starting with you, Ms. Alexakis.
Thank you, Senator. I certainly fall on the end of the spectrum that recognizes that a jury trial, the right to a jury trial, is a fundamental right. It's enshrined for criminal defendants in the Sixth Amendment. In civil cases, it's enshrined in the Seventh Amendment. In my nearly 20 years of practice, I have tried civil cases and criminal cases in front of a jury, and that experience has left me with a firm conviction about the importance of juries in the judicial process. It increases transparency, and it enhances a particularly important participatory element of our democracy.
Ms. Lanham?
Senator, I too fall on that same end of the spectrum and see juries as a bedrock of our system. I have had the honor of representing the United States in criminal jury trials and in defending civil jury verdicts on appeal. My experience in those cases has been that the juries are the voice of common sense and community standards in a process where sometimes there isn't a tremendous amount of common sense. And so if confirmed, I would be doing everything that I could when appropriate, to allow the parties to have jury trials.
Magistrate Martinez?
Thank you. I agree with the comments of my fellow nominees, and I'll share that I too have had the opportunity to try a number of criminal jury trials as well as a civil jury trial, and it is essential to the litigants' sense of being heard and of fairness to have a jury of their peers determine their case.
Ms. Sooknanan?
Senator, I share my fellow nominees' views. It's the right to a civil jury trial is protected in the Constitution for a reason. I think it is incredibly important, and it brings the voices of the people to our judicial system. And I, too, if confirmed, would take all steps as appropriate to ensure that it is something that gets carried out.
I just close by offering an observation that you may wish to take away with you or not, but that is that, particularly from my perspective here in Congress, you see big powers and interests marching around the Capitol like they own the place, surrounded with phalanxes of lawyers, able to deliver false political spin as much as they please, and never held to account. Depending on the administration, they can walk into the offices of the executive branch and be treated with similar reverence, and again, not be held accountable for what they're saying, and be surrounded in retinues of lobbyists and lawyers. And all of that changes when they get in front of a jury. The stuff that they do to try to influence the executive branch to get their way, the stuff that they do in the Capitol to try to influence Congress to get their way would be illegal in front of a jury. It's the one place where power and influence matter less than anywhere else in government. And I would just commend that to you at a time when power and influence are at grotesque levels in the other two branches of government, particularly through the gouts of dark money that are spent through creatures like super PACs that didn't used to even exist that there's something very precious about the hard square corners of the jury box. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Whitehouse. Senator Welch.
Thank you very much. Just two things. Number one, I do share some of Senator Hawley's concerns. There's always an issue for us as lawyers. We have to represent our client. That's the ethical standard. I guess my complaint is with the hedge funds. It's pretty astonishing to buy up distressed securities with a specific intention of trying to get an inflated value through litigation. But to some extent, that's on us as well, what the laws of bankruptcy are and what the laws that should apply to what I think is incredible profiteering that happened by those hedge funds at the expense of the impoverished people of Puerto Rico. It's just really, really appalling. But I don't know that we can hold any individual lawyer accountable for the reasons you mentioned. I do want to ask, we've got some distinguished prosecutors here, and I was a public defender. I have enormous respect for the work that you do in the judicial system, and I have enormous respect for the work public defenders do as well. As judges, you will play a major role in the culture in the courts about respecting the services of the folks who are in your job, but also the public defenders, the probation officers, the court officers. I'm very distressed about what happened to the public defender budget last year. They got stiffed, and it is going to result in cuts unless that is corrected in the current appropriation, which my hope is that it will be. But given the major role you play in respecting the elements of the judicial system, I want each of you, the prosecutors, to tell me how you see the role of public defender and how you will, as a judge, make certain that that continues to be a critical component. And I'll start with you, and we'll go to the right. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I do recognize the important role that public defenders play in the criminal justice system. Although I have spent the majority of my career working as a prosecutor, while in private practice, I did work as a criminal defense attorney as well. And from that perspective, I gained, a particular appreciation for the difficulty that criminal defense attorneys, the particular difficulties that criminal defense attorneys face in that work. I will also say that as a prosecutor, I've taken an oath as an AUSA to uphold the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And for me, that has meant safeguarding the constitutional rights of defendants. And I take that part of my role incredibly seriously. If I were so fortunate as to be confirmed, I would use both those experiences, my time admittedly brief, but still significant in my mind as a criminal defense attorney, and my work as a prosecutor balancing the needs to advocate the United States while also safeguarding the rights of the defendants.
Thank you.
Senator, I share Ms. Alexakis' view on this also. I have always seen it as being within the interests of the United States to uphold every amendment to the Constitution, including the 6th Amendment to the Constitution. And so I have been privileged to count among my colleagues federal public defenders. And I have worked with federal public defenders on several large initiatives, including ensuring the right for defendants to have counsel even in situations where perhaps under statutes or the law they would not be entitled to them. So for example, I collaborated with the Federal Public Defender's Office to draft a general order that allowed for representation for defendants bringing claims under the First Step Act for compassionate release, and most recently under the Sentencing Guidelines retroactive amendment.
Thank you very much. Judge?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. I share my fellow nominees' comments. I know we're short on time. I'll just add that as a former federal prosecutor, I represented the United States in almost 1,500 matters. And in every single one of those cases, I was thankful every single time when there was a defense attorney who appeared in the case, competent, ready to go. I always felt as a prosecutor that it was fundamental that a defendant's rights were well protected.
Okay. Thank you very much. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Welch, and thanks to the nominees. It's been, I'm sure, a memorable experience for each of you and your family and friends. It is our ordinary fare in this committee each week. We virtually know how every senator is going to ask and what they're going to do to either encourage or enrage us. And now you've had a personal experience on it. I appreciate you being here. Questions for the record will be due to the nominees by 5 o'clock on Wednesday, March 27th, and the record will remain open until that time to submit letters and similar materials. And with that, the hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee stands adjourned.